You're 14 years old, and you turn on the TV to watch your favorite show. It's a show about high schoolers like you, only they have perfect hair, skin, and bodies, and they never do homework. They're also all 30. You compare yourself to these characters who, more often than not, are played by actors well into their 20s or even 30s. They don't look like real high schoolers, and their lives definitely don't look like yours. They spend their time partying, doing drugs, solving crimes, and even dating their teachers. Unrealistic beauty standards, romanticization of age gap relationships and other risky behaviors, and overall just misrepresentations of high school students are harmful to young viewers who are watching and comparing themselves to these characters they see on the screen. At an age when you're growing and trying to develop your own identity, you're constantly looking for something or someone to relate to. And for many teens today, they turn to teen dramas for comfort and resonance, but instead find self-doubt and insecurities. The routine casting of adults to play teenagers on TV allows for the creation of unrealistic beauty expectations and ideals. These actors are well past the awkward stages of adolescence and puberty, and Hollywood doesn't make much of an effort to hide this fact. The inaesthetic realities of the teen years, like acne, braces, awkward growth spurts, and voice cracks, are pretty much just overlooked and underrepresented in these shows, conveying the idea that teens should have flawless skin, mature bodies, and complete confidence in their physical appearance. In the show Pretty Little Liars, the character Hannah is made fun of by her friends and called Hefty Hannah. In one episode, she is forced to eat half a dozen cupcakes decorated with little pigs on them, while people walk by and call her Piggy. Storylines like these are unfortunately very common in these types of shows. It seems that any form of imperfection is either covered up or overemphasized and ridiculed. Beth Daniels, a developmental psychology professor at the University of Colorado, stated that the actors that play high schoolers on television don't even resemble real teenagers. She says, "Their faces are framed by high-relief Adam's apples and square, stubbly jaws. Their smooth-skinned, unstretch-marked bodies have no trouble filling out adult-sized lingerie." Now, I want you all to picture in your head a high school sophomore. Maybe you can think back to yourself when you were 15. So, was anybody thinking of something like this? Now, I'm assuming probably not, but this is Archie, a high school sophomore in Riverdale. He is played by 20-year-old KJ Apa, who is consistently shown shirtless with muscular arms and abs. This is 17-year-old Elena Gilbert from The Vampire Diaries. She's played by 20-year-old Nina Dobrev, and her 17-year-old love interest, Stefan Salvatore, is played by 27-year-old Paul Wesley. Now, these are all the actors at the actual ages of the characters they're playing. Teen dramas are also known for the glamorization of drugs, alcohol, age gap relationships, and other risky behaviors. These behaviors are normalized, and there's a complete lack of regard or discussion for the potential harms and consequences of them, and they are shown as being the only and best ways to have fun in high school. In Gossip Girl, the characters are always out drinking at bars and clubs, or partying to the late hours of the night, early hours of the morning. They never seem to be carded or questioned in any way. Their parents really never seem to care, and curfews don't seem to be a thing for these teenagers. I remember being 15 watching the show thinking, like, God, my life is so boring compared to these characters. Now, another concerningly common storyline in these shows is teacher-student relationships. In Dawson's Creek, Casey Witter was only 15 years old when he started sleeping with his high school teacher. Now, this relationship between these two characters is able to be depicted only because the actor was 19 years old at the time of filming. In Pretty Little Liars, 16-year-old Aria becomes romantically involved with her 24-year-old teacher. The relationship is not very criticized in the show, considering that the two get married later on, and there's even merchandise created in support of the couple. Now, the normalization of these types of relationships with inappropriate and illegal age gaps tells teens that these are acceptable and even expected aspects of teen experience. Now, the hypersexualization of teenagers on TV can also be accredited to the casting of older actors to play teens. In the show Euphoria, Kat becomes a cam girl. She engages in a video chats with adult men online, and her decision to partake in sex work is shown as this empowering moment where she reclaims her sexuality. And the depiction of sex work as an easy, inconsequential way for underage girls to make easy money is sinister. It is not empowering. It is irresponsible and dangerous. Teen Health Washington published statistics stating that 9% of all TV programs include some sort of sexual content involving teenagers. Now, a few years ago, this was at 3%, it's now jumped to 9%. I'm not saying that these scenes shouldn't be included at all, but I can say that a lot of the times they seem almost out of place and unnecessary to the plotline of the story. And they also oftentimes fail to include any reference to safe sex or protection, and the characters are shown as overly confident and experienced beyond their years. In Friday Night Lights, an entire episode is dedicated to whether or not two teen characters, Matt Saracen and Julie Taylor, will have sex. 16-year-old Chuck Bass in Gossip Girl is known for having an unrealistically adult sex life, and being exposed to representations like these, which emphasize desirability and physical attraction over emotional and personal development, seems to be more likely to feel inadequate or like pushed into doing things that they're not ready for. So there are some exceptions. How many of you here have seen the show Sex Education? Now, this show does a great job of creating more realistic teen relationships. There's no shortage of awkwardness in the show. It's at times hard to watch, but it does provide viewers with more realistic and relatable perspective. Now, some people may say this is purely entertainment. Show creators and producers do not have the responsibility to depict realistic high school experiences, or they may say that the casting of adult actors to play teens is simply a logistical decision, allowing them to work for longer hours and with less restrictions. While this may be true, it doesn't take that much of an effort to create more relatable and authentic characters and storylines. A good example of this was the movie Lady Bird. Actress Saoirse Ronan reportedly experienced some issues with her skin during filming, and instead of trying to cover it up, the makeup artist decided to let her acne show. And the actress stated that she thought it was a really good opportunity to let a teenager's face in the movie actually look like a teenager's face in real life. Now, it has been found that adolescents watch TV shows with characters similar to themselves, possibly because they help them to build their identity. I can attest to this. I've always loved to watch shows with characters that I can relate to, but if the characters that we are using to help us build our identities are tearing down our self-confidence and creating insecurities, we have a serious problem. Ultimately, teen dramas propagate unrealistic beauty norms, romanticization of age gap relationships and other risky behaviors, and inaccurate portrayals of high school students. These set up unattainable and unrealistic standards for teens, leading them to feel inadequate and not enough. And it is the responsibility of creators and producers to work towards integrating more diverse range of experiences and relationships, addressing some of the common struggles and complexities of teen experience, and creating more authentic and relatable characters. As teens, we need to educate ourselves on what goes on behind the scenes. This way we are better able to understand the bias, recognize the difference between fact and fiction, and better analyze the content we take in. When we stop comparing ourselves to inaccurate portrayals on television, we can start appreciating our own achievements and enjoying our youth. Thank you.